Smoking cessation programs, which one is the best? Do you want to know what the actual best quit smoking cessation program is? Well, guess what? Science has known this for a very, very long time. Science has known what the best quit smoking cessation program is. And if you stay to the end of this video, I'm actually going to tell you what no other quit smoking expert will. How to hack what science knows about the different smoking cessation programs. Let's just hop right into this. There are 15 known ways to quit smoking. Well, actually, there's a lot more than that. There are 15 that are popularly known or that most people will have heard of. Okay? And just before we get into those, we have to understand one quick thing. We have to understand placebo. Why? Because in science, we have to compare everything to placebo. Placebo just means I give you a sugar pill and tell you it's going to get you to quit smoking. And then you quit purely because you believed it. Why is that number important? That number is important because if it's less than placebo, whatever the method is, we know the method has something in it that's actually detrimental to you quitting. If it's the same as placebo, what do we know? Well, we know that it probably doesn't work. And it's probably just the placebo effect that's getting you to quit. If it's above placebo, this is super important. Why? Because it means we know there's something in that method that works. This is why placebo is paramount. We must understand it. So placebo is 12%. So let's just drill right through these 15 known ways to quit smoking. Okay? So from top to bottom, stacking at 85%. Hypnotherapy at 60%, drugs at 22%. Guess what? There are 76 known drugs that you can use to get yourself to quit smoking. They have an average of 22%. The popular ones that we all know about are Zyban, Champex, and Wellbutrin. Okay? Then after that, after those ones in that kind of 20% range, you get vaping at 18%. You get behavioral therapy, which is just counseling at 14%. You get nicotine replacement therapies, the gum, the patch, the lozenges. They average out at 12%, which is the same as placebo. Okay, so we don't know that those have any effect at all. Then you get into the ones that are less than placebo, so we know there's actually something detrimental about them. They are things like laser therapy, reading the books, the apps, and cold turkey. Okay, now, here's the next piece. We're going to go through 3 of those because it's way too much to go through the actual scientific research for all of them. So I've picked 3 out. We're going to go through hypnotherapy. We're going to go through one of the drugs because it's above placebo. And then we're also going to go through vaping. The reason why we're going to go through vaping is because it is one of the most misunderstood things about quitting smoking or as an alternative to smoking. So we're going to go through just the science on those 3 things. So let's just go into this in a little bit more detail and break it down. Okay, so what you're going to see on the screen in front of you now is an actual study on hypnosis. It's actually called Performance by Gender in a Stop Smoking Program, combining hypnosis and aversion. Don't worry about the scientific technicality of what that actually means. Here's what you need to know. So what they did in this scientific study was they know that after 2 weeks, 92% of people that did hypnotherapy quit. They know that at 3 months, 86% of people had quit smoking. Now, we really want to look at a year. That is why you'll see that I have it positioned at 60%. Why do I have hypnotherapy at 60%? Because there's been so many studies on the effective rate of hypnosis for quitting smoking that you have to look at all of the studies and average them out. And it averages out at 60%. And here's the catch. There's a catch about hypnotherapy. That catch is it's really dependent upon the skill of the practitioner. That's why we take an average. Some practitioners might be at 40, other practitioners might be at 80. But if you look at the scientific literature, it averages out at 60. So that's a real, actual scientific study. So next, let's just hop into now Zyban. Let's look particularly at Zyban. So you'll see on the screen in front of you now, there's an actual study here. And this study is taken from the U.S. National Library of Medicine. Okay, so what you'll see here, it says the use of Biproporn. That just means Zyban. And then I've circled down here in red so you can see this number that says 23 verse 22. That's the actual scientific study that shows that it had a 23% success rate. So we know that the drugs actually have a better success rate than placebo, okay? So that's the drugs. So now let's hop right into vaping. Okay, so trigger warning for people that are very pro vaping. This content may upset you, but I implore you, just listen to what it is I'm saying and listen to the scientific research. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through it so that we understand. The very first thing we have to understand when we understand vaping is you're going to find in the vaping world this constant referral to a single study. Okay, the single study that said vaping is 95% less harmful than smoking. Let's break this down. Where does this come from? It comes from the British government, and it comes from a branch of the British government that deals with healthcare. So this is all based on, if you see right here in the study, an August 2015 study. So this study is greater than 6 years old now. And what does this study actually say if we look into it? Does it say that the success rate of vaping is 95%? No, that's not what it says. That's not what it says at all. What it says is that vaping is 95% less harmful than smoking. It has nothing to do with success rate. It's got nothing to do with if you do vaping, are you going to quit? Nothing at all. So what did this study it actually is doing? Let's just actually read right from the study and look at the actual conclusions. So the first thing is this study is from a government ministry. It's from a government committee. And it's from the part of the government that has a vested financial interest in people quitting smoking because they don't have health insurance there the way they do in the United States. It's paid for by the government, by the taxpayer. They want you to quit. So what they did is they basically created a commission to come up with a study. And here's what that commission found. It looked at only one aspect in comparison to smoking, a single aspect. It looked at the amount of tar buildup, vaping versus smoking. And what it found was that smoking had 95% more tar buildup. And so that's what they mean when they say vaping is 95% less harmful than smoking. They just mean you're not going to get the tar buildup. Why? Because you're inhaling chemicals. You're not inhaling tar from a cigarette. So I'm going to read to you directly from the conclusion of the actual government committee so you can see what they're actually saying, because you're not going to find this from the pro-vapers. They're going to leave this out. Here's what it says. It says recent studies find that EC just means electronic cigarettes, can help people to quit smoking and reduce their cigarette consumption. So their standard isn't even people quitting, it's just reduction in consumption. It then goes on to say, it is not known whether current electronic cigarette products are more or less effective than licensed stop smoking medications. This is what they're saying. They are saying it is not known whether current electronic products are more or less effective. That they're saying it inside their own study. They don't even know if it's more or less effective to get someone to quit smoking. Further, look at what they actually did in the study. Electronic users trying to quit smoking self-reported quit rates. So what they didn't do is they didn't actually measure whether or not there was any actual quitting of smoking at all. They just took people's word for it. They just conducted a survey. And then they conclude by saying the evidence on electronic cigarettes used alongside smoking on subsequent quitting of smoking is mixed. So just think this through here. So you're going to see people post vaping is 95% more successful than quitting smoking. No, it's not. It's not even about success rates. It's just simply saying that you're going to get less tar. It doesn't look at all the other health impacts of vaping. It only is looking at one aspect. So let's actually look at what the actual success rate of vaping is. So now you're going to see in front of you directly from the New England Journal of Medicine in 2019. So this is a much, much more recent study, and it's a randomized trial of e-cigarettes. Okay, And here is what that study actually says. I'm going to read to you directly from the abstract of the study. It says, e-cigarettes are commonly used in attempts to stop smoking, but evidence is limited regarding their effectiveness. So that's what the science is saying. It further says we randomly assign adults attending the same UK National Health Services that 95% number came from. And it actually goes on to say that it provided them the 3 months worth of e-cigarette starter packs, and further provided them with whatever flavor they wanted. It also says that they included treatment, but the treatment included weekly behavioral support for at least 4 weeks. What does that mean? It means they gave people counseling. So even in these studies done by the UK government, they're also providing counseling to try and get people to stop. They're not just giving people e-cigarettes and saying, quit smoking. So it then says, here's what it says. This is really important. The primary outcome was sustained abstinence for 1 year. So that's the standard, where people quit smoking for a year, which was validated biochemically at the final visit, meaning they actually took samples from them and looked at whether or not they actually had quit smoking. And here's what it found. The 1 year absentee rate was 18%. What does that mean? Science knows what the effective rate of quitting smoking using vaping is. It's 18%. That's it. It's lower than the drugs, slightly better than placebo. That's the truth on vaping. So what does this mean? Well, it means that vaping is slightly better than placebo, and it's not as good as the drugs, and we have not even addressed the fact about how harmful vaping is, or the fact that it's completely unknown. Science has not had enough time to actually study the ill health effects of vaping, and we already know in the short amount of time that we've had that there are tons. That's for another video. Let's move on from vaping. We know its place in the pantheon of quitting smoking. Let's look at this big picture, okay? So if you look at all of these different quit smoking rates, what do we really see here? Okay, what we really see is there's really only 3 ways to quit smoking. How do we know this? Well, if we break all these ways down, all these known methods by their mechanism to get you to quit, and when I say mechanism, I mean, what are they doing to actually get you to quit? So let's go through this list and let's break that down really quickly. If you go through the list, you'll see there's really only 3 ways. Hypnotherapy uses your unconscious mind. There's a whole bunch that treat smoking as an addiction. And then there's a bunch that attack it from your conscious mind point of view, like the books, the apps, or cold turkey, which is just using your will. So really, there's really only 3 known ways to quit smoking. Use methods that are for your unconscious mind, like hypnotherapy, methods like the drugs and vaping, things that treat it as addiction, and methods like cold turkey, the books, the apps that deal with your conscious mind. So what about this number 1 method called stacking? Remember I said at the beginning that I would tell you what no other quitting expert would? I said, if you remember at the very beginning, that I would show you how to hack the different quit smoking methods. Stacking is how you hack them, because all stacking means is, let's use all 3 of the methods. Let's use methods that use your unconscious mind. Let's use methods that treat it as an addiction. And let's use methods that treat it as if the problem is in your conscious mind. Stacking the different methods together. There's really only 3, and that's what stacking is. Stacking is using all 3 methods in a single program. Why only do 1 method? Why just do hypnotherapy? Why just do Chantix? Why just do cold turkey? Why not do as many as you can stack together? Here's the last thing I really want you to consider. I want you to consider this, that we know from science that only 93% of people can only quit for a year or longer with the aid of a paid program. That means only 7% of people quit on their own. So if the truth is you're not in that 7%, then you want to look for a program that utilizes stacking. So if this video was helpful, please subscribe and make sure you smash that notification button. It will simply tell you when I post new content. Post comments in the section of this video. Why? Allow other people to benefit from your experience. Or if you have questions, post them in the comment section. And also in the description, I put a link to a free 15-minute phone consultation with me. Take advantage of it. It's free. We will have a good time. It's super easy and it's worth doing. You won't regret it. You can join my Facebook group. You can join my Instagram. And whatever you do, make sure, hopefully this got through, whatever you do when you go to try to quit, do stacking or look for a program that uses it. The best of luck, blessings to everyone, and I'll talk to you shortly.